It's never just a game here on V'ger Please, a vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Who am I? Am I a diplomatic envoy? Or am I just Vegas trash? I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, I have to do something that Vegas Trash would do, and that is shill for ourselves, which we very rarely do, my friend. We are people who have had a podcast on the internet with a micro audience, a loyal, dedicated micro audience for something like the 6 years now, and we are still very bad at promoting ourselves.
Has it only been 6 years or is it 7?
2018, I think, is when we started. So it's 2024. So it's coming up on 7. It's coming up on 7. We've picked some new people up, and we really appreciate it, particularly because the death of Google Podcasts actually led to a lot of people finding us on YouTube. By a lot, I mean like another 50 or 60, but we appreciate you. And I wanted to say, hey, if you like the show, subscribe wherever you'd like to subscribe. Like things where they can be liked. Share them where they can be shared. We would love it if more people listened. We're not trying to like make a living out of any of this, but the more the merrier. Particularly, speaking of YouTube, if you haven't, go subscribe over there, even if that's not where you typically get podcasts, because Peter and I have been doing extra content over there. We interviewed Allison Pregler, who's actually a real YouTuber, who made some of our favorite comedic YouTube essays, and that was great. And then Peter and I even did a quick live reaction of the Section 31 trailer, which, it helped to get it out of our systems. I hope you'd agree, Peter.
It should have never been in my system. I didn't want to watch that thing. I wasn't going to watch that thing. And then you're like, hey, let's do a reaction video. And I was like, oh, cool. I don't have anything better to do on my Monday night or whatever that was.
It's like, I could be basking in the glory and attention of my 3 children, but no. Yes. Instead, I will go talk about a terrible Star Trek trailer with Joseph in my basement. I appreciate you for that.
I'll go talk about Michelle Yeoh's unfortunate contract.
So if you're a podcast only person, there's still things specific to YouTube they're doing. So check that out. We'd love that. And then you can tweet at us at V'ger Please. You can email us at V'gerPlease@gmail.com. We have a Discord. Please join it if you haven't already, or email or tweet me or DM me if you need an invite to it. And then for the real hardcore, if you'd like to financially support the show, because it does cost some money for us to put this on, we have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/V'gerPlease, where we do extra shows. We have a exclusive to Patreon forever Tank Girl review for complicated in-joke reasons. And then we also do reviews of movies there. They ultimately get published sometime down the road, but if you want to get ahead of the curve, you can hear us talk about Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock, and soon we'll be doing Voyage Home to finish out the Genesis trilogy and a bunch of other reviews as well.
Speaking of punishing situations, YouTube comments.
Yes, so I want to give a shout out to some regular YouTube commenters that we have who are started to kind of follow along on the show. Some of which are reaching into the back catalog, literally someone talking about you cleaning up baby vomit from our very first episode.
That wasn't vomit, that was shit.
I'm sorry, shit. I forget sometimes the stories involving.
Was all over me. Listen, when you get shit on your pants and your leg hair, you don't forget. And the carpet. That's the worst. Poop in the carpet. Mm-mm.
But we've got some recent ones, too. I want to say thank you to Light of Xeon and Sigligalus. I don't know. And they've been commenting on everyone, and they've got insightful things to say. For example, Sigligalus said on our episode regarding Sorry I Point Your Mom, the Dax episode, this episode establishes the single most important recurring theme of the character of Jadzia Dax, that she is easily ambushed. Which is very true. Very true. Good comment. And then Light of Xeon.
It makes sense because if she's the proto
science girl,
robot lady,
yeah,
science girl, 7 of 9 got ambushed plenty of times. Certainly T'Pol was gripped about the upper arm area.
The upper arm grip immediately disarms them. Learn that from
the off switches on Star Trek type robot ladies. The men, it's in the lower back. Women, it's a squeeze grip right there on the bicep.
Light of Xeon's comment was about Move Along Home. This will always tops people's list for worst of season 1, but for my money, this being The Passenger was far worse. Move Along Home is at least entertaining. The only thing The
Is it?
Passenger has going for it is it's a good cure for insomnia. That's his comment, which,
Mm.
again, appreciate it, everybody out there. And to that, what did we watch this week, Peter?
Fortunately. Well, no, you know what? Fortunately, because we should have watched this last week, and we
It's
didn't
true.
because we watched a really great episode of Next Generation for your birthday.
Thank you.
Which,
It was
how
a
old are
great
you now?
gift. 41.
Yeah, there you go. Old piece of shit.
And it's officially on the back nine of life.
Uh-huh. We got into episode 10 of season 1, Move Along Home. First aired the 14th of March, 1993. The criminals here are teleplay by Frederick Rappaport, Lisa Rich, and Gene Kerrigan Fauci.
Ugh.
Story by Michael Piller, directed by David Carson.
All right, go off, champ. Hit me.
Well, I think I can safely say I've seen the worst episode of Deep Space Nine.
It's a consensus bottom pick, that's for sure.
This thing was fucking wretched. This was stupid. Everybody had their head up their own ass and refused to take it out. The aliens are essentially Joe Dirt and Lawrence from Office Space, which I just made a meme before we started recording.
Yes, you did.
The best that this episode had to offer is discussions about dress uniforms.
I also really liked the Kira reacting to have to going on a stupid Starfleet adventure. That was actually funny. I don't know if it was intended to be funny. I think this whole episode is one of the best unintended comedies in Star Trek because of how bad it is and in a very amusing way. This is a perfect example of good bad, by the way. If you're curious, this is good bad. This is fun bad. The outfits, the situations they find themselves in, the way the plot resolves, it's astonishingly terrible.
Ronald D. Moore stated that when he watched this episode prior to joining the DS9 writing staff, he was, quote, wondering if everyone had lost their minds. AOL Chat, 1998. The fact that this was like the biggest budget episode of the season after the Emissary is ridiculous. This thing feels like a shit original series episode, or maybe like season 1.
Oh, season 1 TNG vibes all up in this. This is so season 1 TNG strong right here.
I can take them trapped in this bullshit game as like, because it's essentially a Q setup, right? Like, oh, everybody's been whooshed away and they wake up and they're in this goofy fucking, I don't know what to even call this terrible set they're in.
It's like a discount version of The Cube. You know? Like, you see that movie?
Yeah, but it just the way it looks, I mean, it feels like they're walking around to Big Lots to me for some reason. I don't know.
Or one very poorly constructed like high school play set. You know?
Everything reeks of particle board. Or was it MDF?
This whole thing, it was supposed to have a very large budget, as you said, but they wound up being over budget by the time they got here and they had to cut their ambitions. And it's just all over this thing about we had to go real cheap to realize what we wanted to do here, and it did not work.
Which, to be fair, it's not always going to work. And when we were talking with Alison Pregler specifically about Vox Sola, which much better episode than this one, let me just say. I would watch Vox Sola many more times than I'll ever watch this goddamn thing.
I would actually rather watch this because it's so inept and funny in that fashion. Yeah. Not because it's good, but because it is fun to watch because of how bad it is.
This is miserable. But, you know, they're making these episodes at a pretty good clip. It's not like they have months to sit around and prep for these things. And
Yeah, you get your 5 or 6 days on set to make your episode, and then you're out the door.
So, you know, is this worse than a lot of the stuff we saw on Enterprise and Voyager? I don't think so. But this is certainly a low point for the season that we've seen so far. And like I said, we start off on the highest note this thing can possibly get. And it's Sisko. He's got his TNG style dress uniform that goes down to the knees. And there's a fair amount of discussion about the dress uniforms between this and what he gets into with Bashir. And, you know, it's been a while since I've seen one of these things. I forgot about the gold glitter trim along the breast flap.
Oh, yeah.
And I can only think to myself, like, are you wearing these things to funerals? And is it appropriate to have glitter lapels at a funeral?
In the fabulous 24th century, I suppose. Mores changed. Off in his quarters with Jake. We can see Jake. Jake hasn't been in an episode in a couple weeks.
It's a strong one to come back on, though. Again, the good stuff's in the front half here. And I think his conversation with Jake is actually pretty excellent.
Yeah, no. The first little bit here is a great building of their relationship. And we get to know more about where Jake's at, right? Like, we now know his age. He's 14. Was a little ambiguous. He is, in fact, acting like a 14-year-old. A little defiant, but, you know, still kind of staying mostly within the lines. He has a ne'er-do-well friend. His dad doesn't like that very much. You know, he's interested in girls. He kind of wants to, like, look at them a lot.
Lucky for him, down on the promenade, there's a great place to sit there and leer at people. It's called the voyeur vent.
The voyeur vent, yes. So he's getting in the voyeur vent with Nog, looking at all the Bajoran chicks, you know? Because we find out Jake, he's not a speciesist, you know, not a xenophobe. Mm-hmm. You look humanoid, and I like it, you know.
I'd like to think that he has a poster hanging up in his quarters of Riker, and that like Riker's just a cool guy.
Give me your energy.
The it's BDE, that like season 6
the Starfleet BDE to me.
It's that season 6 cast shot of Riker with his foot up, leaning on his knee, and that's just, you know, he looks at him like the Fonz. I'm going to be like you.
We didn't talk about it when we were watching TNG, but he did the Riker maneuver when he was talking to Data.
Of course, he's fucking Riker, man. Like
Data had to go down and like deal with Dr. Bashir just breaking in for no reason. And he's like, does the quick Riker maneuver. I'm like, oh god, you're so cool, dude. Like, what is with you?
Sisko does drop that. It's been 3 years since he's worn the dress uniform.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost weight, which, you know, I guess makes sense if you are living off of military rations and then replicators that taste like industrial polymers.
Right, just going to eat only as much as you need.
Yeah, and you know, you're stressed out because we just went through it pretty recently. Like, you're trying to get a space station back together, and also this diplomatic mission to bring Bajor into the Federation, and also the Klingons are being dicks, and now you've got wormhole gate duty and diplomatic first contact. And you're Bajoran Jesus or something.
Which we like, Bajoran Jesus happened in the first episode. We haven't really come back to it yet. Like, that's just like on deck yet. That's not really even one of my problems. Yeah, he's got a full schedule, and I love the idea that he's like, okay, I have to go do first contacts now. I thought I was just going to be a janitor for this fucking buster ass space station around Bajor trying to do a charity work. And now I'm doing first fucking. I thought I was done. I'm an old
here, and I was
a shipwright. I'm out here now, like making first contact. Holy fuck! I better find my goddamn dress uniform, get that shit out of storage.
Someone brought up a good point, like. Same as Enterprise should have had a dedicated diplomatic corps on board. The guy who's running the ship should not have been the same guy who's handling first contacts. You've got the space station, literally all the stuff we talked about. Why is the guy who might have to be in a fist fight with disco aliens beaming in while hunting other sentient members of their species? Why is that the guy who is also going to be doing first contact diplomatic work? Obviously, it's a TV show, and this is how we tell these stories, but very silly concept that it's Sisko wearing all of these hats. But so 3 years since he's had this uniform on. Again, is that for his wife's funeral? Was 359 that long ago?
I think it might have been.
was best
Yeah,
because Best of Both Worlds was Wolf 359, right?
correct. So it would have
And
been
that's how
like
we
end of season 3 would have been when it all went down, and here we are in season 6 of
of Next
TNG.
Gen. Yeah,
So yeah, he might have last worn this for his wife's funeral.
I also while I'm sitting there like him talking about digging it out, I was like, he didn't just replicate it, which is funny because like the next scene, they're down on the airlock, but she was like, I don't know where my fucking uniform is. And I'm like, just replicate it, dog. Do they forget how replicate? Like,
And they are
you don't have.
Cardassian replicators, so they may not like be very good at making Starfleet uniforms.
So yeah, he's sweating. He's like, oh shit, I can't find my uniform. I know I packed it. Cisco jumps down his
I
throat with
didn't have enough
both
time to
feet.
go to Quark and like let him leer at me as he took my measurements. Or
Well,
I could, yeah, I didn't have time to go to Garrick and let him leer at me while he
and
takes my
that's actually in the
measurements.
memory alpha. That was a cut line. Was that he
Oh,
was
really?
debating having Garrick make him a new dress uniform, and then Dax was supposed to say that she didn't think it seemed quite right to have a Cardassian tailor make a Starfleet uniform.
Oh, damn. Well, okay. They should have done that.
Instead, we got them playing hopscotch. They really misprioritized their fucking.
So they scamper down,
Oh,
as
real
you
quick,
mentioned.
other side piece of juice. I want to live in the good parts of this episode before we get into the shit.
Okay, fair enough.
Very important note. According to Jake, Baggy is real in style on Bajor at this point.
You know, the
Which is,
Federation is into skin tight, so it makes sense. They're a little bit rebellious.
yeah. And I was about to say, like, if he's trying to go after these Bajoran girls, like, he needs to get out of these wetsuits that he is wearing.
Yes.
Boy, so we haven't talked about civilian clothing on Deep
We haven't, and
Space
we're
Nine
seeing
yet.
quite a bit of it, and we have not mentioned it. It is definitely still unfortunate TNG level Starfleet. The 24th century is bad for fashion. I think we can
It's
all
real
agree to
bad.
that.
It's real bad.
The TNG era civilian fashion is uniformly looks like some nonsense from the reject pile of the TOS era. It's not good. Really, you have to go all the way back to the Enterprise era for people to be wearing normal clothes. And even on Voyager, the few times they're wearing civilian clothes, it can be pretty hit or miss.
Usually a miss.
And
Usually
of
a big
course, back
fat
when
miss.
Picard is on, it's like, oh, now they're back to normal looking clothes. I think we've all learned our lesson. That's good.
Sure. They're down at the airlock. It's their planned first contact. The most dangerous game doesn't really count. And it didn't count to the point where Cisco wanted nothing to do with Bosk or whatever his name was. Cisco's like, oh gosh, I really care about this. And the whole time I'm like, you didn't give two shits about this other guy. That all turned into a run and gun that multiple people died. You got blood on the floor here. I'm glad you're suddenly caring about all this diplomatic stuff. And the airlocks open up, and in floweth the mullet.
So these people are called the Wadi, and apparently they are all from East Tennessee.
The Wadi. So let's spell this out. W-T. It's white trash.
These guys are it's season 1 TNG energy the whole way. The weird face paint that they have on to be a quote different species is slapdash. The pencil thin fabric on their uniforms is noticeable. And
these uniforms,
yes,
by the way, I'm pretty sure they came off the set of American Gladiators. They're just wearing like shiny leotards.
yes.
They've got these Fu Manchu mustaches. Keep going, Joe. I mean, there's a lot of.
And uniformly, all the men have mullets, and all the girls have 80s hair. Every single one of them.
My question: do you think the very clearly painted on sideburns are supposed to be hair, and we are supposed to believe that's hair, or do you think that is just ridiculous? Like in their culture, they just draw ugly ass sideburns with a pen. After they finish making whatever,
is he sure it's not a pencil? I mean, you talk about low effort alien shit. This is some like PBS sci-fi original level bad. Even at the time, this is terrible. I'm looking at a screenshot from the episode right now, and yeah, you wouldn't have been able to get away with this in 1987, right? Like this is pretty low rent even for then. We're gonna give you a fucking mullet, a shitty goatee, a big bushy mustache, some paint on your head, and you're a fucking alien now. Like, okay, I thought we were past this, guys.
This guy, the lead Joe Dirt, his name's Fallow. His name is Joel Brooks. And he has absolutely nothing to his credit. He is known for Stir Crazy, Indecent Proposal. He's the realtor. Phil of the Future, and this episode of Deep Space Nine.
Damn. That is, ooh, that's your 5th credit? Oh, that's bad. It's very bad. Terrible
These
career.
guys
0 out of 10.
roll in, and Cisco tries to hit him with the diplomacy. Joe Dirt #1 cuts him off. Or let's just go with Lawrence from Office Space, or I don't know, Jethro Clampett. Okay, yeah, where are the games at? We heard about quarks. These guys were tipped off to Deep Space Nine. Or actually, they were back reported by what
Vulcans
Science Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of vetting. This is kind of the joke we made earlier. Is this a real diplomatic envoy from Planet WT? Or are these guys just...
These send the finest examples of white trash to the Federation. we must send the best of the best.
This is a door-to-door salesman, and they're selling Monopoly games, and this is their sales pitch. We are out to sell franchising rights for our terrible Dave and Buster's style entertainment systems here.
This is Cletus. He has the finest mullet and the most functional of the Trans Ams. He will...
His space El Camino is so smooth that the entire Maquis movement will be born the moment these dissatisfied Starfleet officers lay eyes upon it. And somewhere
now, as a ritual greeting, I will crush 30 natty lights directly in front of you.
Basically. Pardon me while I pencil my sideburn back on.
Yeah, these guys really, really want to gamble. So, like, a bunch of people who just got off a fucking flight to Las Vegas, they schlep their way to the casino as quickly as they possibly can. And they are standing around trying to figure the game out. The other part of this episode I like is Quark. Quark is, from the very beginning, trying to find some kind of angle to the circumstance he finds himself in of playing party to first contact, right? What can I do to get these guys engaged in my game? Maybe they have a thing that I can gamble to get off of them, because that would be valuable, right? He essentially undergoes a negotiation / shit test with this guy where he offers two entirely worthless things. Cisco is trying to pressure him into taking something. Like, get this ball rolling. Take something from him. And he keeps just saying no until he finally like shows up with what are supposed to be gemstones, but are just fucking rocks someone picked up from the beach before they came shooting. And that's enough to finally get him to, say, all right, we can game. We can ball now. Get these guys some drinks.
Any episode you can think of where Quark is the low point or Armin Shimmerman does not do his absolute best?
Not a one. He's amazing in every scene he's in, even in all the bad episodes he's in.
Like, what a redeeming feature, and it's a shame that it took Neelix as long as it did for him to become a good character, where you're like, all right, this is a shit episode, but here comes Neelix. Here comes Quark, and at least this guy is going to have some fucking nonsense that's going to make this somewhat worth my time. Because, again, shit episode here, and everything with Quark I thought was super solid. Quark, I love his line, too, where, like, they're real excited. They're looking at the Dabo table. They're sweating it. And Quark's like, do these guys have money? Like, I see great opportunity here. Do they have money in their culture? Is the Federation giving them a stipend to do diplomacy at my Dabo table? And Cisco's like, Quark, it's not the point. And he's like, no, it may not be your point, but it
It is
is mine.
mine.
Like,
Excuse
I'm
me.
here to make money. I'm here for two reasons. One is to make money, and the second is to keep my nephew out of your blackmail prison. So let me do my thing. Let's establish what the currency is. And Quark's like, all right, Clampets, you guys got money? And they're like, yeah, look, we got boxes with churro sticks in them or something, chopsticks. And Quark's just like, no. And
I
then
don't know anything about that. Well, I've got the nectar of the gods. He tries to like it's shit.
they pull this nectar of the gods out. Oh, this is priceless. And they pour him red fluid out of what appears to be a cologne bottle. So I believe what he actually drank was Drakor Nor.
You want it to taste good? It makes sense.
He does not like it. Yeah, and then, like you said, they're like, okay, well, hey, we haven't been down to planet Southern California yet, but we did have a chance to swing by the beach and bring back some rocks. So here's some fool's gold, a little bit of quartz, and a Brussels sprout. And he's like, wow. And I was thinking about it, too. Like, the skill that Quark really needs is frontier value assessment. Because this has popped up a couple of times now. Aliens flash stuff at you that could maybe be worth a lot of gold press latinum, or maybe it's just crap that's all over the street wherever they're from. And this was a big deal back in the Vosh episode, right? When he's like looking through her stuff, trying to figure out what's worth auctioning.
Mm-hmm. And just
And
like
how
it's
to
all
auction
about
it.
making them think it's, the whole salesmanship angle of that. Yeah, it was good.
So strong value assessment skills on this guy. And he's like, cool, let's play. And they get up on the Dabo table and start fucking shit up.
Cut to Cisco is the last man standing in this bar from Starfleet. Everybody else is checked out. It's been 6 hours. They're still gambling, right? These degenerates got off their fucking flight to Las Vegas. They stowed their shit in their hotel room, and they have not left the craps table since. And they are way, way, way up. And so Cisco, after 6 hours, was just kind of like sitting there with Quark and was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. Duty can only demand me to do so much. I've had a full day here. I am going to bed. If they stop gambling, call me. Otherwise, I am getting a nap, which is as real as I've ever seen a Federation command level officer ever. Like, I'm fucking done. I can't hang out anymore and watch them just play craps over and over again. I'm going to go insane.
I liked him talking about was it Captain McCullough or something that
Yeah,
wrote
the guy who's like
revised.
invented First Contact, and he's like ruefully like, I wish he was here right now, so that I could go home. Like, it's fuck that guy. And that's what it's those moments throughout the episode that are actually some of its redeeming value, because it is funny as hell. I just don't think it was trying to be, but it finds these really funny comedy beats like that.
Cisco dips. Quark gets tired of losing because these guys are just cleaning house. He pulls the Dabo girl off. He puts his cousin in there or something, and the camera pans in and we see that there's very clearly some sort of a cheat button taped to the side of this desk that the Dabo table is operating on. These guys lose their first one. Lawrence sees the guy's hand, kind of like zooms in like, oh. And commercial break, they come back, and the Ferengi goes to hit the cheat button again. And this time, Jed Clampett goes over there and grabs him. He's like, no, I see what you're doing.
This background Ferengi that works at Quark's is named Broick, and Broick is the smoldering catcher guy of Quark's. He is in ET1 episodes of DS9 as a consistent background actor playing this specific character. And he is one of the many people who the second to last episode of the show is about. So when they finally allow them all to be characters, he gets to be a character then too. So we're going to be seeing a lot of backup background Ferengi guy for the next several years of our life.
Give me these guys. And that's, Voyager was stingy. growing the universe. And that's been the thing I've been the most excited about going into DS9 was like build that ensemble cast out, tell those other stories, give Smoldering Catcher his due, get the Delaney sisters out there, like give me all that stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing all that. So the guy comes up, grabs, what did you say his name's Browick?
Browick, yeah.
Grabs his arm. Quark instantly knows what's up. Oh, you've dishonored us. You're benched. I'm so sorry, guys. What can we do? And these guys like roll up on Quark, ready to, I don't know, shoot bottle rockets or bust a beer bottle over his head or whatever is a custom where they're from. And he starts trying to barter, escalating up to the Hollow Suites where he asks, do they have sex on your world?
We said last week, I guess, or maybe 2 weeks ago, the Hollow Suites are for fucking, and that is explicit. There you go, boys. Like, they are illicit sex dens. That's their purpose.
Any holographic technology's purpose, really. They're just better at it, I guess.
I appreciate, though, that the subtext is text, right? Like, this is something that fans obviously had posited and the writers are aware of even at this point, 6 years into the reemergence of Star Trek as a property. And so it's like, yeah, we're in the shady part of the universe. So yes, this thing you have surmised is true. Here, we'll just say it, and then we can move on.
At least in the Ferengi parts of town.
Which makes sense. They're the ones that would be fine with it.
Everybody would be fine with it just for a price. So Fallow's like, all right, here's your punishment. We're going to play a new game. And he opens up a box and it Q flashes. And now there's this big, ridiculous shoots and ladders game, 3-dimensional shoots and ladders game where the Dabo table used to be. And the guy starts hitting him with like Scammy 101, which is like, we're going to play a game. I'm not going to tell you what the rules are. And you're going to get bullied into just putting up a wager and we're going to go. And Quark's a pretty good sport about it. Like the opportunist in him is like, oh, what is this? Let me investigate this. He's clearly a guy who enjoys gambling.
The alternative was to get beat up by a guy and all of his cousins from West Virginia. So it's like, what option was he really left with? They rolled up on him.
What option would be really left with, Joe? Would it be, I don't know, call the cops and tell them to get the fuck out of your bar because you're not Starfleet?
I mean, we do hear a lot about how the local cops are not Starfleet here shortly.
Also, it's time to start kicking this episode between the legs like it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
Odo, who lives in Quark's bar, while Quark is there alone with the first diplomatic envoy to come on to Deep Space Nine without shooting within the first 4 seconds, is just in there completely unsupervised. I was waiting for at some point a chair to turn into Odo, him to go, oh, no. But yeah, he's just carte blanche operation over these diplomats or, Gamblers Anonymous meeting or whatever this was supposed to be. And
so when he starts playing the game, obviously we cut to Cisco. He's in bed, and then suddenly he turns over, and he is in Discount the Cube with his uniform on for some reason and a tricorder for some reason, which is never explained by the plot. He was definitely in a pajamas before he wound up in there.
It's stupid.
We're just gonna, it's more interesting if they're like in their uniforms or it's easier or whatever. So they're there.
The Wadi are good sports. They want to give these guys the best chance they can, and that means having street clothes on and also a tricorder. God help you if your culture has not developed tricorders. He does all the normal stuff, tries using his comm badge, starts telling the holodeck to turn off and deactivate the program, which I think there should always be more of that when these situations arrive. Like, shouldn't that be the first thing you think? Oh, gosh, am I really here in the land of the lost with a Tyrannosaurus Rex roaring at me?
Or am I on a holodeck? Invisibility, Imagination Land, the technology. I wonder maybe if that's to blame. I'll try that one first.
Oh, gosh, look at this guy. You've transported me onto the holodeck again to relive some traumatic event or be, scared in a slasher movie. Gee, I wonder what's happening here. Man, April Fool's Day must be real vicious.
Starfleet April Fool's Day could be rough. You're absolutely correct.
It's just the purge.
Especially if like it's someone you don't like if Cisco was poorly liked, and you transport him onto the holodeck, and it's just replaying the destruction of his old ship. He's just like
Yeah.
stuck on it, having to watch everyone get killed.
And he's just like, God damn it, I don't want to be the emissary. Leave me alone, prophets.
He starts going around, and he hears a screaming from Dr. Bashir, who, by the way, like I do appreciate how he gets kind of like just beat up by this episode. He shows up without his dress uniform. Cisco rails him, and he is very intimidated by the fact that he is fucked up and made his boss angry with him. And comes over here, and he's like thinking he's dreaming. That's his cope. Cisco thought he was in a holodeck. He's like, clearly this isn't real. I'm just going to start yelling, and I'm going to wake up from this dream. No, sorry, this is really happening to you. Dax just rolls over and like, yep, this is happening. I'm a science officer. I'm in Starfleet. I've come to expect this to occur. And Cisco, Dax, and Bashir all start to kind of like turn their Starfleet brains on. Like, okay, we must be in this kind of strange construct as a consequence of our friends from the Gamma Quadrant, right? We must be their guests. I already have seen one of them. We're going to do some logical deduction. All right, let's see how our technology works. It's time to crack the Scooby-Doo, mystery. That's what we do. We're Starfleet officers. And here's Kira. Kira's not fucking having it. Kira, as she then says, is I am not in Starfleet. I did not sign up to have goofy fucking adventures. I am a Bajoran administrator. I was a terrorist. I killed people for a living. I do not want to be here right now. This is bullshit.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You're the rogue, all right?
You're the wild card. Got it. Okay.
Great. You can break a neck or, I don't know, stab someone with a stick or something. And so begins the Alpha Quadrant's most boring escape room.
Yeah, that's the last good part of this episode is Kira being like, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. And she's giving her clerk speech. After that, it's time to do some season 1 TNG level problem solving, and it's not entertaining at all. Everything that happens in the game is just dumb, right? What is there to go over? They still have the little puzzles, and they have their weird little...
It's pissing me off. I'm watching them play fucking hopscotch. The girl goes through the hopscotch routine like 6 times, and I don't know what's derivative of what. I don't know if people saw this episode and then they made some video games where like, oh, hey, look at the NPC going through this action. Like maybe if I mimic the action, I can get through even though I'm like kind of humiliating myself. It does not work. It's crappy. Watching Cisco and Bashir and, the rest of them go through with the hand motion, like saluting as they do the hopscotch thing. Like, come on, man. I'm not here for this. Don't waste my time with this bullshit. A smoky room full of cocktail waiters, and you got to figure out to drink it. Like, again, the worst escape room I've ever seen.
So I think that if the concept had stayed with the idea that no one has time for this nonsense and everyone is very frustrated with how this is how this first contact is going, and that they're dealing, if they just went explicitly comedic with the premise from this point forward,
this would be a great Decks episode.
Yes. You could have made a Lower Decks episode out of this, but this could have been a comedic episode in the vein of Bride of Chaotica, right? Like, you could have just had everyone engaging with the material through a comedic lens, and I think it works. And instead...
Here, let me do it. The Vulcans had already reported that this is how this species operates. They're coming to Deep Space Nine. This is a Starfleet action. They've already been briefed, hey, they've got this stupid fucking game, and they use it as a judge of character, which they don't do, by the way. These are just gambling assholes.
Right.
But in my rewrite, the Wadi, they've got a game, and it's how they suss out people's intentions, and it's this litmus test for judge of character. Be prepared. Certain members of the station are going to get sucked up and have to play Candyland, and you just got to deal with it. And everybody who got sucked in are the people who were not at all excited about the potential of being into this.
Right.
And somewhere else in the station, people are belling like, oh gosh, I really wish we could have gotten sucked into Jenga or whatever. Mall madness. That's what it looks like, a shitty shopping mall. It's Mall Madness. Some
There you
Latin
go.
American shopping mall. And then you've got the people who are there that do not want to be there, and it's just a drag, and they want to get out as fast as possible.
Yeah, like
Instead,
you structure the episode so that like Dax, who's like a veteran of like being a diplomat in her prior lives, you know, she's ready. Cisco's like, I'm a commander, I'm a Starfleet officer, I'm ready. You know, you've got maybe Bashir, who's like, I'm eager, I want to like meet, that's why I'm here out in the frontier. And they're the three that don't get to go. And it's like Kira, O'Brien, and Odo are the ones that get picked to go into Candyland, or like Quark or someone like that. And it's like the juxtaposition of all of them being like, I've got to do the stupid Starfleet adventure while the Starfleet people are sitting on the fucking bench. Are you kidding me? That is where the story needed to go. And instead they did this.
by the way, O'Brien's still MIA.
Still shooting his movie. He got his Golden Globe nomination for,
well,
man.
hey, in this case, good on him for being able to hit the skip button. And then poor Terry Farrell.
Yeah.
Not be able to be in the sweet-ass Next Gen episode because you're doing this bullshit.
Which he commented on was bullshit.
Everybody commented on it was bullshit.
It was clear, like when we reviewed it, like that was definitely supposed to be Dax. It was written for Dax.
Yep. The problem with this episode is they try to play this as a sinister action, right? The abduction of the crew. This is a malevolent species of undetermined technological superiority has forced Quark into this life and death role over not his friends, but people who are important in the space station. And the ridiculous...
he has a good scene when he comes to the realization of what's happened, that the four people that are missing are the four pieces on the board. He actually does have a lot of regret, right? He quietly actually asks Odo to take over. Like, I'm not qualified to continue to make decisions. Terrible consequences have been visited on others as because of my actions. And
so it's cheating,
all in his, and it's all in his face too. Right. He's just like, I want out. I want out of this now. This isn't fun anymore. I might get people killed. And I like that there was that moment of hesitation because it humanizes him, right? Because he does villainous things enough that you need to buy that back a little bit with stuff like that. So
Odo,
again, I'm done saying nice things about it.
Odo, the big dummy of the episode, shows up for work. I'm sorry, Jake shows up to Odo and goes, I can't find my dad. I was supposed to get the birds and bees speech. And he's like, okay, computer, where's he at? He's missing. Goes up to Ops. There's Officer Pudge, who apparently this is his last episode.
Listen, two heaping helpings of Officer Pudge was more than you thought you were going to get.
I figured they'd kill him off, or that he would end up being dirty somehow.
No, he was just there because, again, they don't have O'Brien, so they want like regular men that they can do things with.
I guess. We got to find them. No point does like a security detail show up with guns and surround these guys and say, fucking cough them up. You're all going to the brig. This is a galactic incident. We're impounding your vessel. We're going to do something to try and free these guys, because everything that we have seen so far very clearly indicates that this is a life-threatening situation and that you guys are evil. And this is kind of like a script Swiss cheese, because the original ending wasn't supposed to divulge that this is just an innocent game and ha ha ha, no harm, no foul. It was supposed to leave things ambiguous, like, man, maybe people might have really died actually all or whatever. So in this early part, they're being very sinister. And of course, classic Star Trek conflict, like you can't just come out and say, hey, by the way, guys, everybody's safe. We're just having fun.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to teach Quark a lesson and, abduct people and psychologically torture them.
I did like that Officer Pudge, when Odo comes up, is like just kind of chilling, doing his thing, playing Candy Crush. And he's playing Candy Crush, and I'm like, hey, where's Cisco? I was like, oh, the senior staff didn't report. He's just like unconcerned. He's like, why? He's like,
everybody is hungover.
They're all hungover. Obviously, it was big first contact. They were there till in the morning. They're at Quark's. I'm not gonna bother them. I'm a bro. You think I'm gonna be calling the boss and saying, where you at? I'll cover things until they've had their Rectogeno, right? Like,
you think I haven't drank a lot of beer? Look at me.
And
This Wisconsin body didn't come out of thin air, buddy.
it didn't pop up overnight. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, those 30 natty lights, I would have been helpful in that
Yeah.
contest. And so I liked his attitude to begin with, and then Odo coming in like, you fucking idiot, they're all missing. Weird Starfleet shit is happening. Like, oh fuck. All right, boys, let's figure this out.
Hey, we found some weird signals on their ship. You're gonna go ahead and beam me over there because I'm Bajoran and we don't have rules or laws. And I'm just gonna
know. Apparently, Bajor B&E is just perfectly legal.
Absolutely. It's a rough part of space, right?
Right.
They beam him over there. He opens a door. There's some really intense special effects in terms of a light that is very bright.
Yeah, like, first and foremost, she's like, beam me onto the ships. Like, don't you need aren't you a law enforcement official, Odo? Like, don't you realize you need probable cause? Like, a probable cause they're doing something wrong over there. Beam me over, like, as far as it goes. And then, yeah, he gets like hit by a blinding light that just deposits him back in Quarks. That's
I
it.
figured maybe there was a holodeck over there or there was going to be an energy stream. But yeah, him walking into the light and being Q-whooshed into Quarks was just ridiculous.
And then
again,
he's
at
like,
what point as Odo do you escalate things and say, all right, red alert, get the shock troops down here. This is real fucked up.
When he gets back down there, it's after they've, quote, killed Bashir, end quote. Just randomly, again, this happens, and so Bashir ends up in that TNG episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's already escalated to the point where they keep intimating that one of the senior officers is dead and they don't know which. And Quark gives this impassioned speech, which is really the only part where I feel like his character falls apart, about how he just needs to trust him because, you know, he's going to gamble on them being able to make it and trust his gambler's instincts. And it's like, where is this coming from? We have no background on Quark being a gambler personally. He's a barkeep and runs a casino and a fuck den, a holographic fuck den. But okay, fine. Odo goes with this for no reason, does not call security officers, as you know, does not attempt to like use his changeling powers to like interfere with anything that's going on, says nothing really, does nothing whatsoever that would suggest he's trying to exert any kind of control over what's happening, and allows it all to occur. It's like, I guess, fine, Quark, roll your fucking dice and see if you get sorry or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be.
Don't wake daddy.
Yeah, like, here we go.
More dumb shit. They get attacked by cheap special effects. Dax's leg is injured, and
they're
she's
in the hell caves. Gotta get those in.
They're in planet hell. They're in the caves. They're smelling the cat piss, edging along the wall. I'm like, boy, I hope someone ends up with a blue dildo bust through their leg. Right? Give me a throwback to gosh, what was Shran's Andoria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's clear for them to continue that Dax cannot go forward. She is going to endanger more people. And then we get this, hey, it's all for one and one for all. We're not leaving you behind. We already lost Julian. She's like, no, if I was in charge, I'd court-martial everybody, blah, 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 blah. You're risking your lives for me. It's like, listen, B, you can just jump off the edge. All right? Don't sit here and act like you really care about everybody so much. Like, just jump off the edge, and then they don't have to worry about you, and everybody can live. Instead, they try to bring her along. They all fall off. Everybody in the memory alpha is talking about what a wonderful stunt process this was, even though it's all completely forgettable.
And I guess they do try to get a decent character moment between Dax and Cisco in there about, Cisco having been tutored by Curzon, kind of recalling that, and Jadzia mentioning it, and it kind of, I wish it was in service to something more interesting, but it kind of starts to help define why these two are and remain close as friends throughout the rest of DS9. Okay, so they tried there. But then, yeah, they don't try the rest of the way. It's just some dumb practical / CG nonsense for falling, and then they just wind up back in Quarks. And the game's over because Quark lost. No one was ever in any danger. In fact, when it's brought up, the mullet men just say it's just a game and then pack up and leave like a bunch of fucking assholes.
Free.
Yeah.
No arrests. No getting in front of the door. Like, whatever deliberation they're having, like, we need to hold these guys accountable for basically fucking kidnapping and terrorism. Instead, Odo's like, Quark cheated. And everybody, like, aggro's onto Quark. But Quark doesn't get in trouble either.
So it goes to like confront him, and Odo brings up, "Oh, this happened because Quark cheated," and then Quark's like, "Yeah, I might have said that in the heat of the moment to try and prevent myself from having to select which one of you I thought I was going to be killing." And then everyone just kind of shrugs their shoulders, and they all leave. And Quark's like, "Wait, I want to franchise the game." Boop boop bonk. Just the most incompetent possible ending. You thought there were going to be stakes, and then you just decided, nah, we're cashing the whole thing out. We are saying none of it mattered. These people are going to leave and never be seen again, and we're just gonna kind of end this on a flat comedy beat and act like it never happened. That last 5 minutes is something else. Like, just total hit the eject button. This is just over.
Hey, I like that idea. I'm ejecting this fucking thing. I'm done talking about it. It sucked.
What's next?
Up next, season 1, episode 11, The Nagus. Teleplay by Ira Stephen Bear. Story by David Livingston.
Ooh.
That's a weird one. We've always seen David Livingston as a director. I've never seen him with any sort of story credit before, and he is directing this one. I know that from what you've said, season 1, season 2 is Michael Pillar. Season 3, Ira Stephen Bear becomes the showrunner. Ronald Moore gets involved. I think this is the first time we've seen Ira Stephen Bear as a writing credit or a teleplay credit. So this is going to be an important episode, I think, for starting to explore the flavor of things to come.
I think that he had an earlier credit. I'm actually look this up because he might have been like one of the pack of names that was attached to Emissary. I want to see if this really is his first writing credit or not. Yeah, so he was on Babel. I'm sorry. So he did one of the earlier episodes, but as you noted, he becomes an intensely important person to DS9, particularly in the heat phase of DS9 when it gets real good, starting with season 3. And this also is the beginning of the kind of Ferengi plotline over the course of all of DS9. There's kind of a separate Ferengi plotline. We end up going to Ferenginar. We have to learn about Ferengi society. So this kind of plays in the background, and of course, who should be playing the Grand Nagus but one legendary actor, Wallace Shaw. So I cannot wait to start to delve into the Ferengi content, because it is somewhat polarizing, I think, in DS9 fandom. Some people love these episodes, some people hate them. So I'll be interested to see where you fall.
This one's going to be with the sudden death of Grand Nagus. Zach Quark becomes the new leader of the Ferengi Alliance, but he also becomes a target for murder. I look forward to discussing what the Ferengi were in TNG and what they're trying to turn them into for Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah.
I am unfortunately reminded of not False Prophets, which was its own massive piece of shit. What was the Enterprise version?
Oh, yeah, the Enterprise one where they're going to like kidnap all of the women to like take them away as slaves.
Sex slave them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. And it's the one that had Ethan Phillips and Jeffrey Combs. Well, thank you for enduring all the way. Listen, you've seen the bottom, Peter. It came early and it wasn't that bad. All right. Like, we endured so much worse.
Oh, yeah.
In Voyager and in Enterprise. I think I want to say that.
Voyager and Enterprise was basically SEALs training. All right.
It's true.
If this is the first DS9 can show to me, like, kiss your regime goodbye.
Yeah, you got nothing. You can't stop us. And we'll see you next week.